परिजाताय तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः. Hare Krishna. Welcome back to our Bhagavad Gita Bhakti Shastri course. We are in the 11th chapter. In the last chapter in the last class we discussed about Arjuna's description of the vision of the universal form. And first he was describing the universal form, then he described the reactions of the various residents to the perception of the universal form. Then he described his own emotions, and then after that he described suddenly the vision comes down to the battlefield and he sees the various warriors there getting destroyed, devoured. So we discussed there about the significance of the destructive aspect of God. So God destroys the temporary to make way for the eternal. And then Arjuna concluded with the question, who are you? So from verse 32 onwards, the Vishwarupa speaks. So actually it is Krishna itself. That's why the Sanjaya doesn't say Shri Vishwarupa Uvacha. He says Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So let us see what he says. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kalosmi lokakshay krit pravriddho lokan samahartum iha pravrittaha ऋतेऽपि त्वां न भविष्यन्ति सर्वे ये अवस्थिता प्रत्यनिकेषु योधाः. So Kalosmi, time I am. And what have I come for? Lokakshaya krut pravriddho. I have come for destroying the world. So Arjuna had asked two questions. Akhya hi meko bhavanugra rupo. Who are you? And second was nahi janami tava pravrittim. I do not know what is your purpose. So in that sense the question also includes what is your purpose, I want to know. So in the first line itself both are described succinctly. Kalosmi, I am time. Time I am, the destroyer of all the worlds. And what have I done? I have come here for lokakshaya krut pravriddho. Lokakshaya, for destruction of the whole world. Lokan samahartum iha pravrittaha. So all the worlds will be engaged in destruction. All the worlds means the principal kings of the worlds will be engaged in mutual destruction. And then ritepi tvam na bhavishyanti sarve te avastitaha pratyanikeshu yodha. So pratyanikeshu yodha is all those warriors who are assembled over here, they will be destroyed. And Rutepi Tvam. Rute can mean except for you, or it can mean without you. So except for you means actually everybody will be destroyed, but you will not be destroyed. So we know that the Kauravas were defeated and the Pandavas were victorious. And when Karna fell on the 17th day, Shalya became the commander for the 18th day, and Shalya was killed by Yudhishthira. And after that, the few remains of Duryodhana's soldiers tried to fight, and Shakuni was also killed by Sahadev. At that time, Duryodhana fled, and then he was hiding under a lake, and Bhima found him, challenged him, and defeated him, and he lay mortally wounded, dying. So at that time the Pandavas thought they had won the war. But that night, Ashwatthama came and brutally slaughtered all the Kaurava warriors. All the Pandava warriors. However, because of the tradition that the warriors who win the war, in order to sort of proclaim their victory and lay their claim on the land which they have won, the tradition was that they sleep on the battlefield, on the battleground. So the Pandavas were sleeping on the battleground, and the remaining soldiers were in the camp. Soldiers, warriors, commanders, everyone. So they were slaughtered by Ashwatthama with Kritavarman and Kripacharya. And in this way, practically everybody was killed. So the 5 Pandavas remained. Even the Pandavas' sons were killed. Apart from that, the only persons who remained were these 3 people, Ashwatthama, Kritavarman and Kripa. And from the Pandava side, Krishna was still there. Then Satyaki was a Yadu warrior who, the only Yadu warriors who fought in the war were Satyaki on the side of the Pandavas and Kritavarman on the side of the Kauravas. Kritavarman was the commander of the Narayan Sena, and along with the Narayan Sena he came to fight. Narayan Sena was chosen by Duryodhana before the war took place, so he also came. And Satyaki was a very close student of Arjuna, friend and student. He had also been at the Gurukul of Drona, and he had learned some things over there. But Arjuna had honed his skills through intense training while Arjuna was in Dwarka. So they were very close. Satyaki had also fought. Satyaki was there in the same place where the Pandavas were resting for the night. So these, that means practically only these 7 people, the 5 Pandavas, Satyaki and Krishna on the side of the Kaurav, on Pandavas, and then the Kritavarman, Kripa and Ashwatthama on the side of the Kauravas. And of course there was one more Kaurava who was actually a half son, a half brother of the 100 Kauravas. So he had been born from Dhritarashtra through a maid servant, and he had defected over to the Pandavas just before the war had started, and he performed the final rites of all the Kauravas. So he also survived. So practically nobody survived. Srute pitvam na bhavishyanti sarve. So except for you, everybody will be destroyed. Now that means the Kala Rupa is coming, and the Kala Rupa is ferocious for the materialists. But for the devotee, the Kala Rupa is not ferocious. Just like Narasimha Dev was ferocious for the demons, but Narasimha Dev was the abode of love for Prahalad. And the same Narasimha Dev who was roaring like a fierce and frightening lion started purring and pussing like a gentle cat when Prahalad came in front of him, offered obeisance, and then Narasimha Dev touched his hand on Prahalad's head. So we see there's 2 pictures of Narasimha Dev. One is roaring, very fierce, and the other is smiling, putting the hand of Prahalad. So it's a famous verse from Sridhar Swami, whose Ishtadev was Narasimha. He said, Anugra api ugra evayam. So he said, Pautanam swakeshari. Just as a lioness is extremely fierce for everyone except her own cubs, similarly the Lord in the form of Narasimha Dev is fierce for everyone but not for his devotees. So same way here also, actually the Virata Rupa doesn't destroy the Pandavas and Rutepi Tvam except for you. That's one way of understanding it. And the Rutepi can mean, another explanation is even without you. Rute can mean without. Then what does it mean? It means that even if you don't fight, still I have come here as time and I am going to destroy everyone. So that means the destruction of the warriors is already ordained by divine arrangement. And even if you don't do it, if you think that, I will not fight, I won't incur sinful reactions, I won't kill my relatives, still their killing is already ordained and that is going to happen. You cannot stop that. That is the emphasis of Rute Pitvam. So now here there is an interesting verse from the Katha Upanishad which also illustrates the point of how the Lord's glory is all-sided. So, Yasya Brahma cha Kshatram cha Ubhe Bhavata Odanaha Mrityuryaso Pasechanam Ka Ittaveda Yatra Saha. So now here it is said that it's quite a scary verse in one way. Yasya Brahma cha Kshatram cha. That means Brahmanas and Kshatriyas Ubhe Bhavata Odanaha. So they are all consumed, devoured like a meal by the Supreme. Mrityuryasopasechanam. So that actually as the form of death actually consumes everyone. And who can know such a form of the absolute truth? What does it mean? Again, we may have some disturbing notions of cannibalism over here. you know. One thing is non-vegetarianism. Non-vegetarianism is to eat meat, but cannibalism is to eat human flesh, which is barbaric. It is outlawed according to international law, and the practice might be there in some remote places, but it is quite a barbaric idea for any civilized person. So what to speak of any human being doing it? Then a human being doing itself is horrible. What to speak of the idea of God doing something like that? So in fact, you know, a year or so ago, there was a court case in Russia where the ROC, the Russian Orthodox Church, which wants sort to have monopoly on religion in Russia, which tried to ban the Hare Krishna, ban the Bhagavad Gita as it is of Srila Prabhupada. And one of the reasons that they gave was this kind of description. They said they worship these people worship a god who you know, he drinks blood and eats people. So this is a barbaric cult, and we shouldn't allow such a cult to have any presence in our country. So that was their argument. So actually this is such a weak and distorted argument without any philosophical context. Actually, if you look at any scripture, if somebody wants to distort things out of context, then anywhere and everywhere that kind of distortion can be there. You know, if we look in the Bible, we'll find that, especially in the Old Testament, that whenever the kings conquer any kingdom, what do? First thing is that they go and destroy the idols over there in the temple. Their idea is these are false gods, and not only do they destroy the idols, there are descriptions where in the Bible where, say for example, God tells that this particular tribe is a contamination in the race, and you should not mix this with tribe, otherwise your race will become defiled. And to ensure that it don't become contaminated, actually the God orders means one of the messengers of one of the persons who is considered to be a prophet, a messenger of God, that person comes and says that this whole tribe should be killed. And then these people who are supposed to be the messengers of God, who are supposed to be the ambassadors of love, what do they just fall upon this whole tribe? And not only the men, the women and the children, all of them are slaughtered, and that is called as a cleansing operation. So this sort of description there in the Bible. Similarly in the Quran also we will see these things. In the Quran also, there is often ruthless killing which happens at several places. So there are some Jews over there, and some groups of Jews surrender. When Muhammad conquers Medina, and some groups of Jews fight. So those who fight, they are defeated and they are killed, and those who decide they will not fight, they will surrender. After they surrender and put down their weapons, the Muslims are ordered, you kill all of them. And those defenseless people who have voluntarily surrendered, then they are brutally slaughtered. So now there are different interpretations, there are different contextualizations. Some people context whether that it literally means killing, whatever, different people give different meanings for that. But the point is, if it just goes into the literalistic explanation of things, then every scripture in the world can be faulted. And we see that if you look at the Mahabharata war per se, the first and foremost point is that the Mahabharata goes to exhaustive length to describe very clearly how ungodly, how cruel, how vicious the Kauravas were. And it also goes to great length to describe how godly, how conciliatory, how tolerant the Pandavas were. And the Pandavas tried all possible means to avoid confrontation. Even Krishna himself went to Shantidut, and nothing worked at that. And only after that, they chose to have the war. And it was not their choice, it was a necessity for them. And that necessity was not just so that they would themselves become the kings, that necessity was also because the world needed godly administrators. So it is all combined together which came over there, which resulted in the war. But this particular description, so first is the war was necessary so that there could be righteous administration, righteous government on the surface of the earth. But beyond that, in the specific context of the war, the Bhagavad Gita is a philosophical discussion, and within that philosophical discussion, this is a revelation that is given. So this is a revelation which is not to be taken literalistically. Yes, the point of the Virat Rupa is, Prabhupada also makes the point in his earlier purports, the Virat Rupa is not eternal. Our Vishwarupa is not eternal. In the spiritual world, in Vaikuntha, there is Goloka, there is Ayodhya, but there is no Vishwarupa Loka. There is no form, there is no planet where this particular form exists eternally, and there are the devotees of this particular form worshipping eternally. No, this is a temporary revelation which is meant to demonstrate the point of God's Vibhuti, how He pervades everything and exists everywhere. It is that which is demonstrated by this form, and that is the highlight, not anything else. So it's a revelation which is given, and within the revelation, through a metaphorical way, what is demonstrated is that ultimately everybody is going to be destroyed, and we shouldn't divorce destruction from the jurisdiction of God. Just like a king may be very virtuous, but there is a prison also, and in the prison, the prisoners often are there for punishment. So just because the king is virtuous doesn't mean that there will be no prisoners over there. So similarly, in this material world, destruction is a reality of life, and that reality cannot be denied or rejected, nor can it be divorced from the overall understanding of God, whose jurisdiction exists over everything in nature. So it is not that God has a particular vendetta by which He destroys some people, nor is it that He is cannibalistic. Simple point is, this metaphorical destruction is to indicate how everyone is in the jurisdiction, everything that happens in nature is within the jurisdiction of the absolute truth. So now when people are destroyed, their destruction is not because of God's malevolence. Their destruction is because of those people's own bad karma, because of which they have to face destruction. So let's look at the next verse now. So once Arjuna understands that, okay, this destruction is going to happen, then what? Tasmat tvamuttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungshva rajyam samriddham mayaivaite nihata purvameva nimittamatram bhavasavyasachi. So tasmat tvamuttishta, therefore, O Arjuna, arise. What is the meaning of therefore? Actually, therefore means, from the previous verse, it was said that all of them are going to die. You are not going to die. Except for you would mean that you are not going to die. So it was implied in the previous verse, and it will be explicitly said in this verse that you are not going to die, others are going to die. That means if there is a war, the other party is going to die, you are not going to die. That means you will emerge victorious. So tasmat. So that will be said therefore, and it will further clearly said tamuttishta, arise. Yasho labhasva, attain victory. Tasmat tamuttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun, conquer over your enemy. Jitva shatrun bhungshva rajam samriddham. Bhungshva is enjoy. So normally we say that devotees should not enjoy anything. We are not meant to enjoy. We are meant to serve. Yes, that is true. But even within service, there is enjoyment. So it's not that Krishna wants us to be deprived of all enjoyment. Actually, Krishna wants us to stop depriving ourselves of enjoyment. Real enjoyment is at the spiritual level, in our nature as souls, in our natural activity as parts of Krishna who lovingly serve Him. So as long as we act in material consciousness and seek sense gratification, we deprive ourselves of enjoyment. So actually regulation and restriction is not meant to deprive us of enjoyment. It is meant to end our deprivation of enjoyment. So there is some enjoyment at the material level, there is real enjoyment at the spiritual level. So as long as we are caught in seeking enjoyment at the material level, then we can't relish life at the spiritual level, because our consciousness is caught over here. So when this is regulated, then our consciousness becomes free, it becomes purified, it rises to the spiritual level, and we can enjoy the spiritual level in relationship with Krishna. And when we practice devotional life, it is not that we enjoy only at the spiritual level. There is for a devotee enjoyment within the service of the Lord, even in the material world. That is not material enjoyment. A devotee, for example, when a devotee builds a big temple for the glorification of the Lord, that is in one sense in the material world. Geographically, it is at a particular place in a particular country. We could say it is in the material world. But the devotee gets great happiness over there in doing that. So, Bhungshva, Arjuna, you are going to conquer and rule this kingdom, and you enjoy this prosperous kingdom. So, Jitva Shatrun, conquer all your enemies, Bhungshva Rajam, Samriddham, and once your enemies are destroyed, your kingdom will become prosperous and you can enjoy that prosperous kingdom. Mayaivaite, by my arrangement, Nihataha, destroyed, Purvameva, in the past only. That means by my prior arrangement, the enemies are destroyed. So nowadays people have this whole scandal about match fixing. That means players are playing a match, but they have already been paid. Some players are paid to underperform or perform in a particular way so that the match result will go in a particular way. So when Krishna is saying like this, by my arrangement they are already killed. Is this an example of match fixing? The whole Kurukshetra battle is going to take up, but it's battle fixing. Krishna has decided that the Pandavas are going to be victorious, the Kauravas are going to be defeated. So is this a matter of battle fixing? The important point is not fixing. The important point here is of not of fixing the battle. The important point is fixing of our consciousness. See, the whole purpose of the Bhagavad Gita is to fix Arjuna's consciousness and devotion. In this world, whatever God wants to do, He can do without us also. Now, if Krishna wants to build a temple, He can build a temple without any of us. If Krishna wants to spread His message, He can spread it without any of us. He is present as a super soul in the heart of people, and one revelation, one inspiration, one conviction which the super soul grants can transform people far more thoroughly and permanently than what the biggest lectures that the best preachers can give. So Krishna doesn't need us for anything. So in that sense, we could say that the results are fixed by Krishna. But Krishna can do whatever He wants Himself. But Krishna is not just concerned with results at the material level. Krishna is concerned with transformations at the spiritual level also. So at this transformation at the spiritual level means He is concerned with fixing our consciousness in His devotional service, by which we become purified, elevated and liberated. So the word match fixing is used to talk about say sports matches in which the result is fixed. But the word match fixing can be used another way, that actually there's the concept of marriage matches, and matches are fixed also. Okay, this boy should get married to this girl. So ultimately, the original and the eternal romance is between the soul and the Lord. So the match fixing that the Lord is really interested in is reviving our eternal relationship with Him, in enabling us to revive our love for Him and return back to Him. So whatever external situations are there, the challenges are there, the service opportunities are there, all of them are meant as facilities so that we can fix our consciousness more on Him. So, Mayaivaite Nihata Purvameva. So this is an additional impetus, the knowledge that by Krishna's arrangement all the opponents are already killed, is not a license for passivity. It is not. Prabhupada says in a lecture, Arjuna did not tell Krishna, anyway you have killed everyone, already you are God, you can kill everyone and you killed everyone only. So let you kill everyone, I will sit and I will drink bhang. Prabhupada mimics some religious people who do all sorts of activities in the name of religion. And he says, no, Krishna didn't say that, Arjuna didn't say that. Arjuna took up the responsibility. So the idea is to offer assurance, not to offer a license. A license means you can do whatever you want. No, assurance means you should do this, but if you have some hesitation whether this will lead to success or not, I'm offering you assurance. By my arrangement, success will be there. Mayaivaite nihatah purmameva. And therefore, what should you do? Nimitta matram bhavasa vyasachi. So nimitta matram. Become an instrument. Now it's interesting that sometimes if you just become an instrument, then it may seem to be demeaning for some people. Why demeaning? I am my own person and I can do my own things. Why should I just become an instrument for somebody else? I will do my own things. Yes, we can do our own things, but the fact is that our own intelligence is never as good as God's intelligence. And often whatever we do, it may well end up creating more problems than it solves. We have discussed this earlier, how what is the best thing that the scientists can do to help heal the ecology of the world? The best thing that they can do is stop doing anything. Why stop doing anything? Because nature has its own capacity to heal, and much of what we are doing is wounding nature. We are exploiting natural resources, destabilizing the ecological balances, extensive deforestation, so many things we are doing which is actually ruining the environment. So what do we need to do? Stop interfering with nature. Nature will heal itself. So the point which I'm making is not that we have to go back and say no to all scientific progress. That is a cultural issue which requires a broad discussion. The essential point is whatever culture we are in, we should try to serve Krishna. But the specific point which I am making over here is that all of us are meant to serve Krishna. And in serving Krishna, we do the best justice to our talents and we bring about the best results. When we act according to our own plans, then because our plans and our intelligence is finite, the results that can come from them are also at best mediocre. If you want results that truly do good to everyone, we simply should become instruments for God's plan. And when we become instruments for Krishna's plan, by that our intelligence becomes complemented, completed and perfected by Krishna's intelligence. So our intelligence is this much, but Krishna's intelligence is infinite, and then we can do wonderful things. So when Krishna says nimitta matram, he doesn't minimize Arjuna in that. Immediately he complements it by saying Sauvesachi. Sauvesachi means you are very skilled. For archer to be skilled at shooting, that itself is extraordinary. Arjuna was so skilled that even at night in darkness he could shoot arrows accurately and hit targets. So that was his skill, and that itself is extraordinary. He was the best archer in the world. But not only was he the best archer, he was ambidextrous. Ambidextrous means he could shoot equally well with both hands. So normally the archers will shoot like this with the right and left hand, but they could shoot with the left and right hand also, both ways. So that ambidextrousness was an additional virtue, and through the address Sauvesachi, Krishna is acknowledging Arjuna's expertise. So it's not that when we become devoted to God, our expertise and our abilities are to be of no use. No, our abilities are to be used and they are acknowledged. Even in devotee circle, if some devotee has singing ability, some devotee has managerial ability, some devotee has speaking ability. So different devotees can have different abilities and they can be used in Krishna's service. In fact, they attain that perfection when used in Krishna's service. So, nimitta matram bhavasau vyasachi, become an instrument in this battle. So through this verse, Krishna is telling Arjuna that this whole world is moving according to a plan. Prabhupada writes in the purport that people think everything is happening by chance. But no, everything is happening by plan. And our perfection is to understand that plan and cooperate with that plan. Now we may wonder, how can I know what is God's plan? Is God going to come and tell me that this is my plan, cooperate with it? Or is it that whatever senior devotees tell me, that is my plan, that is my plan? Now somebody says the spiritual master's instructions are Krishna's plan. But we may not have access to spiritual master's instructions also. So the important point is that there are broad aspects of Krishna's plan, and when we take care of those broad aspects, the specific aspects take care of themselves. That means that when we take care of, for example, our direct connection with Krishna. We ensure that we study scriptures properly, we do our sadhana properly. Then through these, we show Krishna that we want to serve him. When we express our desire to serve him in such a way, then other times also Krishna gives us the intelligence of how best we can serve him. So when it is clear to us how we should serve Krishna, at that time we should clearly serve Krishna. And then when it is not clear how we can serve Krishna, at that time Krishna will also give us guidance of how we can serve him. So we do, first of all, when things are clear, we show Krishna that yes, I want to serve you, by clearly doing those activities. And then that Krishna will reveal to us, externally, internally, in his own ways, he will reveal, okay, this is what I want you to do. So we shouldn't go into a paralysis by analysis mode thinking what is Krishna's plan. We should think, okay, what are opportunities for service I have, I should take those opportunities. And the more I serve Krishna, Krishna sees my sincere intention, the more Krishna will reveal opportunities for service to me and will guide me to make the best choices for myself. So serving Krishna is, it means especially with respect to sharing Krishna consciousness with others or even practicing Krishna consciousness ourselves, may seem like mission impossible. How can I alone? There are so many people who are non-devotees, they're not interested in devotion also. How will they take up? I alone cannot practice. It's mission impossible. But actually speaking, when we understand that this is not my mission, this is Krishna's mission, I am a part of Krishna's mission, and Krishna is supreme. The Bible says when God is for you, who can be against you? So actually speaking, it is not that God is for us, we should be for God. So when we are for God, then actually God is there with us. And then when we understand that, then sharing Krishna consciousness is not mission impossible, it is mission unstoppable. Unstoppable. It's God's power and nobody can stop God's power. It's going to happen. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is going to spread all over the world. And Prithvidya Chaitanya Digram Sarvatra Prachar Hoi Bemor Nam. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has predicted that in every town and village my holy name will be chanted. So it's going to happen. So Srila Prabhupada took up the responsibility for that and he got the glory. Many of his other god brothers, somehow they didn't have that. They were in their own way exalted souls. They helped Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur preach vigorously within India, but they didn't have that vision, vigor, that level of faith that actually, yes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission could spread everywhere. And Srila Prabhupada took that responsibility and he got the glory. He shared Krishna consciousness all over the world. So Prithvityate. So Nimitta Matram Bhava Savyasachi. As devotees, we have confidence that when we are serving Krishna, Krishna's power is with us. That doesn't necessarily mean that every single plan that a devotee makes will be successful. It's a mission unstoppable. Now, even we see Prabhupada's many plans were not successful. When he made the League of Devotees, that was not successful. He had to shut it down and to leave Jhansi. Similarly, when he tried to help his god brother, assist his god brother in their missions, that was not a successful attempt, and he had to leave that place. So when we say mission unstoppable, that doesn't mean necessarily that every single activity that devotee does will be successful. It's like Gange Bhau Gamo Danvati. The Ganga just keeps moving over towards the ocean. Now that doesn't mean that whenever any obstacle comes, the Ganga will necessarily break down that obstacle and move forward. Sometimes when an obstacle is too strong, the Ganga may not break down. Ganga may find another way to go ahead. It may go above it, it may go below it, it may go left, it may go right. It will just keep moving onwards. So like that, a devotee keeps finding some way to keep serving Krishna, no matter what the difficulty. So mission unstoppable means the mission itself will go on. Although in specific battles, there may not be always successes. But overall, there will be success because it is the Lord's mission, Lord's power is there. So now, why is it that devotees are not always successful? Is it that God's power is not always with us? No. God is always there with his devotees, but he wants to make sure that we don't go away from him in the name of his service. Sometimes success in this world may not be the best thing for us. That success may infatuate us, that success may make us feel proud, and that success may make us think that I am myself glorious and I don't need God so much. So the service which you took up for the sake of God may end up taking us away from God. So that's why sometimes Krishna may not allow us to gain successes, and that can happen even in our internal life also. Sometimes we are trying to battle lust, we are trying to battle greed, we are trying to battle anger. And although we try to take shelter of Krishna, still these temptations overpower us. So at that time we have to understand that this is simply because this is not that Krishna's holy name doesn't work, not that Krishna consciousness is important. It is just that Krishna wants us to struggle to realize that victory comes not just by our endeavors, victory comes by His grace. And He wants us to sincerely and seriously beg for His grace. And when we do that, so after struggle, after that when we succeed, then we will know the success has come, but it is not by my effort. By my effort, if success had to come, it would have come much, much earlier. The fact that it did not come earlier, the fact that it has come now, indicates that it has come by Krishna's grace. And because it has come by Krishna's grace, therefore, I am dependent on Krishna. So I'm successful now, but if I become proud, Krishna withdraws His grace, then again I can fall. So let me always be dependent on Krishna. So in this way, sometimes Krishna gives us a failure so that He can give us a greater victory. So overall, a devotee will never be unsuccessful. Or sometimes a devotee may face reversals after reversals in life. But through all those reversals, that may be the treatment necessary for the devotee to take greater and greater shelter of Krishna, become free from infatuations with success in this world, and by that return to Krishna eventually. So Jatayu, we see that he failed at the material level. He tried to stop Ravana and he couldn't stop Ravana. Now of course there is multiple explanations. Ravana, he believed, although he was lusty, he was wretched, he was demoniac, but still he had some beliefs in Vedic culture also. So before he abducted Sita, he consulted an astrologer. He says, will this abduction be successful? So the astrologer, now actually a good astrologer would tell him never do such abduction. It's abduction, it's a religious thing. But astrologers, not all astrologers are always pure-hearted. They are also money-minded. So he said, actually this particular time is a time. If you can abduct her in this time, then the abduction will be successful. Otherwise it will be a failure and it will cause your destruction. So Jatayu, so he planned it in such a way that Maricha would go and he would distract Lord Ram, and eventually Lakshman would also go away, and then he would abduct Sita. So he had planned in such a way that the whole abduction could be completed in that Vinda period. But Jatayu is coming and stopping him. Jatayu fought with him for a long time, not in terms of days and months, but for hours. And because of that, what happened was that the period expired. And in that sense, the whatever auspiciousness might have been there around this inauspicious activity of abducting someone else's wife, that was also lost. Now of course we can say that the Lord is omnipotent and the Lord can get back His consort no matter what time somebody abducts him. That's true. But within the perspective of the Leela, Jatayu did succeed in terms of delaying the abduction of Sita. But from the overall perspective, we may say that okay, Jatayu had to die. So how was he successful? So actually, he may have lost the battle against Ravana, but he won the war against Maya. How did he win the war against Maya? In this world, actually the same instruction is given by Vyasadeva to Yudhishthir Maharaj when Yudhishthir Maharaj is utterly disconsolate and devastated after the death of Abhimanyu. Yudhishthir Maharaj feels as if he is responsible because he requested Abhimanyu to break the Chakravyuh, and he assured that all of us Pandavas will come behind you to assist you. We will protect you. So Abhimanyu went fearlessly and broke the Chakravyuh. But as the remaining Pandavas, Bhima, Yudhishthir, Nakul, Sahadev, Drishtadyumna, they were all trying to go inside, Jayadratha came in between and he blocked all of them. And that's how Abhimanyu was left alone. And then Abhimanyu eventually fought heroically, but he was slaughtered by 6 Kaura Maharathas. So Yudhishthir felt himself responsible, to protect myself from Chakravyuh of Dronacharya. I send this 16-year-old boy to the slaughterhouse. How wretched I am. So at that time, Vyasadeva came and consoled him. And Vyasadeva told him that actually, for a Kshatriya, it's a perfection to die on the battlefield. And actually to die in a Dharma Yuddha, in the mission of the Lord, it's not just a dharmic perfection, it is a devotional perfection also. So he has attained an abode from which is actually the envy of even the gods. And in this world, no matter how high a person rises, that person can always be pulled down by temptation. But Abhimanyu has now attained an abode from where he will never be pulled down by temptation. So rather than lamenting for him who has attained such an exalted destination, we should lament for all of us who still have to live in this world of temptation and tribulation. So the point which Vyasadeva is making is that Abhimanyu, he may have died, he may have lost the war against the Kauravas, but he won the war against temptation. He went to the arena beyond temptation. He went to the spiritual world. So like that, Jatayu, he may have lost the battle against Ravana, but he won the war against Maya. He won the war against illusion, against temptation. Gridhradipa is called a Gridhradipa, is a vulture. A vulture is not considered to be a very auspicious animal. Among birds also, vulture is not considered to be among the lower tamasic animals. So as a vulture, so many vultures have taken birth, so many vultures have died, and that has gone on throughout history and will keep going on throughout history. But here is a vulture who served the Lord and laid down life in the service of the Lord and died in the lap of the Lord, chanting the name of the Lord, and had the Lord himself perform his antisamskara. And the Lord offered water to him just like he offered water. So, water for his father. So that is actually the greatest fortune. And how many people get that kind of fortune? So therefore, this supreme fortune that Jatayu got, by all this, it's understood that he went back to the spiritual world. So he may have lost one war against Ravana, but he may have not lost one battle. The battle is like one segment, one unit of events, and war is the broader course of the confrontation. So like we have World War II. Within that, there can be the Battle of Normandy, there can be the Battle of Paris, or whatever battles are there. So battles are subsets. War is the mega set, superset. So Jatayu may have lost the battle against Ravana, but he won the war against Maya, and he went back to the spiritual world. So sometimes, even in our battles as devotees, in our lives as devotees, we may lose some battles. But even if we lose the battles, we may lose the fight, but we shouldn't lose the fighting spirit. Why? Because the fights will come and go, but the fighting spirit is what is going to keep us going in our spiritual life. And our fighting spirit is based not just on specifically whether we win particular battles or not. It is based on the fact that Krishna is there with us and we are serving Krishna. And the opportunity to serve Krishna is always there no matter what happens. So in that way, we can keep marching ahead steadily. And we can ultimately attain Krishna. So that is the ultimate goal and perfection of a devotee's life. That keep serving Krishna, irrespective of whether there's victory or defeat at this level. Still a devotee goes on, and of course, by the arrangement of Lord, the devotee can get extraordinary victories far greater than what would otherwise have been possible. So in this world, the maximum that a person can rise up to is what is ordained by the karma of the person. A person can work very, very hard, but if the karmic credits are not there, the person cannot rise as high as that person as other people. Prabhupada says that many people work hard, but not everyone becomes a millionaire or a billionaire or a trillionaire. Why is that? Yes, we could say that this person was so shrewd, so intelligent, made the right decisions. Those are true, the person made the right decisions, but there are also so many circumstances which are also important for the success. If those circumstances were not there, the right decisions wouldn't have taken place, and the right decisions wouldn't have had such a dramatically positive effect. They had the positive effect because circumstances are also important, and those circumstances are arranged by karma. So we understand that in this world, the maximum that a person can succeed is dependent on whatever the karmic credits are. But for a devotee, the success is not limited by karmic credits. The devotee success can go far, far beyond the karmic credits to as much as Krishna wants to empower the devotee. And how much does Krishna want to empower the devotee? Actually, Krishna wants to empower the devotee unlimitedly. Prabhupada told the devotees that if you just accept, you just firmly believe that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then Krishna can give you the world in just 18 days. Just as Krishna gave the world to Arjuna in 18 days, Krishna can give the world to all of you in 18 days. just have to strengthen your faith in Krishna's supremacy, in Krishna's glory, in Krishna's potency. So, as devotees, even if we have some failures, we may lose the fight, but we don't have to lose the fighting spirit. If we maintain the fighting spirit, ultimate victory is guaranteed for a devotee. Then, let's go to the next verse here. So, Prabhupada explains that if one is in full Krishna consciousness and his life is devoted to the Lord's transcendental service, he is perfect. So, he should just fight in accordance with the desire of the Supreme Lord, then he would be happy. So, irrespective of success or failure, he would be perfect and he would be successful by the arrangement of the Lord. Dronam cha bhishmam cha jayadratham cha karnam tathanyanapi yodhaviran maya hatam stvam jahima vitishtha Yudhyasva jetasi rane sapatnan. So, Dronam cha Bhishmam cha Jayadratham cha. Actually, Drona, Bhishma, Jayadrath, these are enemies. And he says, Karnam tatha anyanapi yodhaviran. All the other enemies, Maya hatam stvam. By my arrangement, they are killed. Jahima, Vyatishta. Vyatishta is disturbance, fear, apprehension. Give it up. Destroy your apprehension. Yudhyasva jetasi. Yudhyasva, just fight. Jetasi. Jay jetasi. You will conquer. Rane sapatnan, in the fight your enemies. So now, when Arjuna has described the Vishwarupa Darshan, at that time he has mentioned Bhishmam, Dronam and Sutaputram. Dhatarashtrasya Putra and Bhishma Dotra and Sutaputra is mentioned. But he has not mentioned Jayadrath over here. And in fact, if we just look at the relative powers of the Kaurava warriors and Pandava warriors, Jayadrath was not a very prominent hero. In fact, when Duryodhana enlists the warriors on both sides, actually Duryodhana doesn't even bother to mention Jayadrath. He was Sindhu Naresh. So neither Jayadrath is mentioned nor Sindhu Naresh is mentioned. So Jayadrath is not a very formidable warrior. But still, why does Krishna mention here Jayadrath's name? Because he knows that later on Jayadrath is going to play a very critical role. Jayadrath is going to cause the death of Abhimanyu, and then Arjuna is going to take the vow that Jayadrath will be killed. I will kill Jayadrath or I will enter into fire. And killing Jayadrath is going to be nearly impossible because Drona will practically arrange the whole army to protect Jayadrath. So actually that Herculean, nearly impossible task also Arjuna will be able to accomplish by the will of the Lord. And that is what he is assuring. So Jayadratham cha, Jayadrath will be killed. So Maya hatam, they'll all be killed. So Prabhupada writes, the plans of the devotees are as good as his plans, the Lord's plans. One should follow such plans and be victorious in the struggle for existence. So we may not have to fight a battle like the warriors at Kurukshetra are fighting, but we have our own battles. So we'll be successful in that. So now Sanjay is speaking. So the screen is moving backwards. Camera is moving backwards. Sanjay vacha etachrutva pachinam keshavasya krutanjalir vepamana kiriti namaskritva bhuya evaha krishnam sagatgatam bhita pranamya. Etachrutva, after hearing this, vachanam keshavasya, he heard the words of Keshava. Then krutanjalir, he folded his hands. Vepamana is trembling. Now actually, although the Virat Rupa, all the Vishwarupa spoke such encouraging, action-calling words, but still the Vishwarupa was quite fearsome to see. And still Arjuna, he's overwhelmed that this formidable, fearsome, unparalleled form is actually bestowing blessings on me. It's calling me to do something. So it's thrilling, but at the same time, the form is fearsome. So there is Vepamana, there is trembling still. Vepamana Kiriti. So Kiriti, he is the crown wearer. Prabhupada translates Kiriti as helmet or crown, whatever. It can refer to crown also. So what is helmet basically is what is worn on the head. So it acts as it has protective purpose and as well as ornamental purpose. So Kiriti. So the point is, why Vepamana Kiriti? Actually speaking, normally Kshatriyas don't tremble over anything. Kshatriyas are trained to see blood, violence, Kshatriyas are trained to face death in the eye without flinching or fearing, or fleeing, of course. Chapalam, Yuddhepya Chapalayanam. It's described in the 18th chapter. When we look at the qualities of Kshatriyas, we'll say that one of the qualities is they never run away from the battlefield. So they have that training by which they don't become fearful, even in the most scary and ghastly of situations. But this darshan of the Vishwarupa, especially the Kala aspect of it, is so fearsome that even that person who is Kiriti, that person who is the crown wearer, Kiriti can be a generic reference to any Kshatriya who wears the crown, but specifically it is one of the names of Arjuna also. That Arjuna, who is the greatest of Kshatriyas, even he is Vepamanaha. So what cannot be done by anything in this world can be done by the Lord. The Lord Shiva is such a dhira that nobody can bewilder him. It is described that once Parvati Devi herself came and tried to agitate him, by even touching his private parts, but Lord Shiva did not get agitated. And Prabhupada said this is an example of how a person should be dhira. But then Mohini Murti came at that time, just by seeing Mohini Murti, what happened to Lord Shiva? He became wildly passionate. And even when Parvati was right next to him, he forgot Parvati and ran away. Not only to after this Mohini Murti away from Parvati, even his own worshippers who were chanting Om Namah Shivaya, they were there. And he ran after Mohini Murti even in their presence. So how does this happen? When the Lord wants, the Lord can overwhelm anyone and everyone. So the most dhira person can become completely adhira. The most fearless person can become fearful. That is the nature of the Lord. Vepamana Kiriti, that is the omnipotence of the Lord. And then what happened? Namaskritva, he offered obeisances. Bhuya eva Krishnam. Namaskritva bhuya. Why? Bhuya. Earlier also he had offered obeisances. And first time he saw the Virata Rupa. So now he's offering obeisances. Bhuya eva Krishnam. Sa Gadgada. His throat is choked in ecstasy. Bhita pranamya. So, Bhita. Bhita means he's still fearful. What kind of awesome form is this? Pranamya. So he offered obeisances. So one is folding hands, Krutanjali. Namaskritva is offering obeisances. And Pranamya is bowing down. So he does all that. And now he starts speaking his prayer. So earlier it was a description. Now it is a prayer. So these prayers also go through different phases. And we'll look at those phases. But before that, let us try to understand what is the Skala Rupa. In the first canto of the in the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a description of the universal form, and that is described quite elaborately. Now, the word universal form can refer to many things. The basic concept is that we connect the universe with God. And whatever manifestations we see within the universe, we see them as manifestations of the Lord's form. And by that, we spiritualize our vision of the universe and we understand the glory of God. So the meditation on the Virata Rupa is called as the first step in God realization in the Bhagavatam. That chapter is entitled. Why first step? Because initially people have material consciousness. And generally in material consciousness, things which are materially big are respected by people. And if there is a group of lions, then the biggest lion, having the greatest strength, the greatest ferocity, that lion will be respected as the king, generally speaking. So that way, in material consciousness, things which are materially big attract attention and respect. So that way it is told for such people that when they are in material consciousness, conceive how big the Lord is by contemplating on how the mountains are the bones of the Lord. Contemplate on how the sun and the moon are the eyes of the Lord. Contemplate on how the rivers are like the water in the navel of the Lord. And the trees are like the hair on the body of the Lord. Now, Srila Prabhupada clearly explains in the Bhagavatam that this is a conceptualization. Conceptualization means it's not that the Lord has a specific form like this. It's not that the Lord has some specific form which where somewhere he is like this. So it is said that the higher planets are his head, the lower planets are his legs. So now we know the universe is there, 14 planetary systems, but it's not that separate from the universe there is another form of the Lord which extends from the top of the universe to the bottom of the universe. This is a conceptualization. The Bhagavatam uses the word kalpitaha, and the word kalpita is related with the kalpana. Kalpana means imagination. And Prabhupada writes that in this way, the Lord is imagined. The Lord's form is imagined by great thinkers. Now we may wonder, if they are great thinkers, why do they need to imagine anything? Actually, the idea of imagination is not always bad. If that imagination, that conceptualization can connect us with God, then that is desirable. So the idea is that these people, by conceptualizing about God in this way, can become God conscious, at least at the preliminary level. So later on, of course, it is said that these yogis, these seekers, should meditate on the super soul in the heart, and the Bhagavatam evolves its description further, and eventually it talks about Bhagavan. And then it comes to the 10th canto, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So the Bhagavatam's revelation is also progressive. But in the first canto, it gives the Virat Rupa description, and then it goes on to describe the Paramatma in the heart, and eventually describes the transcendental person, Bhagavan, who descends in various incarnations. Now, within this particular flow, the Virat Rupa that is described in the Bhagavatam is a conceptual tool for linking our materially absorbed consciousness through the medium of matter to the absolute truth. But the Bhagavad Gita's Vishwarupa is slightly different. It's not a conceptualization. In the Bhagavatam, it's described the yogis should sit in a meditational pose and then try to close their eyes, go into a trance and conceive of the form like this. Arjuna does not do like this over here. So although the terms sometimes may be interchangeable, the exact nature of what is happening is slightly different. So here in Arjuna's case, what he sees is not a conceptualization, it is a revelation. So what is the difference between the conceptualization and revelation? Conceptualization is what we have conceived by our own imagination, by our own creative skills, no doubt based on scripture. Scripture gives some guidance about how we should envision the Lord. It's not that we can envision arbitrarily as per our wild imagination, but we conceive based on scriptural direction. Still there is conceptualization. Whereas in the case of revelation, it's not that Arjuna is trying to see something with the mind's imagination. Everything just flashed ahead in front of him. So it's a revelation. And in this revelation, what happens is Arjuna is able to see the whole universe. So that means God can display his revelation whenever he wants. So here when Arjuna is seeing the Vishwarupa, it is not a sadhana that he is doing. It's a kripa that he is getting. When in the Bhagavatam is described about the Virat Rupa, that is a sadhana which the beginners in the transcendental path to do to internalize the understanding of how God is so mind-bogglingly massive, so great. So to understand that Virat Rupa is a conceptualization from the Bhagavatam. Vishwarupa is a revelation. So we could say revelation is top down, conceptualization is bottom up. And generally speaking, in the Virata Rupa, when the conceptualization happened, that time the Kala Rupa is not shown. So the Kala Rupa is specially shown by Arjuna, and they're shown to Arjuna by the Lord, because the Lord wants to not only answer Arjuna's request that please display the universal form, please display in a vision what you have told me in description earlier, but the Lord also wants to reassure Arjuna that the battle that you are going to fight, in that you will surely be successful. Do not hesitate. So Krishna has displayed the Virat Rupa several times earlier. He has displayed some version to Mother Yashoda, when Mother Yashoda asked Krishna, who was supposed to have eaten mud, to open his mouth, and she saw the whole universe. That is one kind of Vishwarupa. Then another he showed to Duryodhana in the war, just when he had gone as Shantiduta, and Duryodhana tried to arrest Krishna. That was also, it was scary. And he saw practically all the beings in the universe within the Virat Rupa. But there also he did not see the Kala Rupa. Duryodhana did not see the destruction of Duryodhana. Duryodhana did not see Duryodhana and all his brothers going inside the form of the universal roof, in the mouth of the universal form. That is a special vision which is given only over here. So that's why the word is used Adrushta Purvam. This has never been shown before. So this Kala Rupa is what is fearsome. The universal form is also extraordinary. It creates astonishment. And Mother Yashoda was also astonished, but Mother Yashoda did not see any blood or anything like that. When Duryodhana did not see anything blood or anybody getting consumed and devoured like that. That consuming and devouring aspect is what happens with the Kala Rupa. And that is what Arjuna is inquiring about. Arjuna had himself asked, please show me Rupa Ishwarya. And when he first saw the Rupa Ishwarya, he also identified, Pashyami Vishweshwara Vishwarupa. So I offer obeisances to you who are Vishwarupa. So if he's already identified this as Vishwarupa, he's already identified this is actually Vishnu himself, which he does in 24 and 30th verses. He says Vishwarupa in 16th verse. Then why does in 31st verse he ask, Akhya himeko bhavanu gururupa, who are you? If he knows it's Vishnu, if he knows he is Vishwarupa, then why is he asking? Because the Kala Rupa has never been seen. And that's why this particular feature within the Vishwarupa, who is this who is devouring everyone? That is what he asks, and it's called this Kala Rupa. So now, after understanding that this Kala Rupa is there, within the Vishwarupa is there, and then Arjuna will offer prayers. And we'll discuss these prayers in our next class. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.